Welcome back to Sacred Arts Academy, where we talk about all things from the sacred to the practical. I'm so excited to talk about emotional freedom tapping today with Sophia Torini. She is a certified clinical EFT practitioner whose personal battle with illness led her to discover the transformative power of EFT, also known as emotional freedom tapping, and reality hacking. Her journey from a debilitating condition is to complete health transformation inspired her to shift her career from healthcare administration to empowering others worldwide. With a unique blend of expertise in public health, technology, and now training in meta consciousness, she guides individuals through releasing negative thought patterns to find clarity, calmness, and joy. Sophia's mission is to share this powerful key to self-healing, proving that within us lies the extraordinary ability to transform our lives. She aims to share with audiences how they too can unlock their inner power and embrace a life of health and happiness. Welcome, Sophia.
Thank you very much for the wonderful bio, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with your audience.
Absolutely. I want to start off with what inspired you to get on this path, and how has that transformed you over time?
So I went through a lot of changes, but the overall theme is for most of my life, I was kind of unhappy. There were too many challenges coming my way. And then there was an unfortunate experience for a surgery I did not need, that I was expected to die. Somehow I did not die. I was expected like any moment. But then it left me with a health ailment that I would kind of patch, but kept on coming back and kept on coming back. And then at some point, it just got worse. So I would get these flare-ups, then I would be fine, and then eventually came to the point, and I said, I can't be doing this anymore. I had the top physicians at the Mayo Clinic, and so I started questioning, there has to be another way. But the key motivation was, because I've had that experience that I almost died. I went unconscious and I was 23 days in the hospital. I realized that if this condition is not treated, it's going to be a slow, progressive death. So it wouldn't be that I'd be out tomorrow. And that's, I think, what led me to start searching, what is it that I can do? And how did I get a condition overnight when I didn't have anything before? So that search led me to start studying Dr. Joe Dispenza. I thought his books were superb, but there was one thing missing. I did not know how to master and feel my emotions. So the teachings were wonderful, but I'd be reacting to the environment 24/7. And it's our reaction to the environment that activates the gene for disease. So, and I could not master. I found a lovely EFT practitioner, and I worked with her for quite some time. I mean, I still have practitioners that I work with, but she was very instrumental. And at some point, she said, because at that point I was really sick, I was kind of close to bedridden, pretty bad. What would you like to do to go back to work? And so she considered going back to healthcare. And I said, you know what? I don't align with this model anymore. She says, well, why don't you just take a seminar and take the course and see if you like it. And I am going to be one of the guides in the course. And I took it, I passed the test, and I said, I'm not sure I really want to do this as a career. And then some clients came along the way, and then I literally shifted, because when I started seeing the clients were changing, that really inspired me. And I realized they don't have to be suffering an illness and having this anxiety, which is what I had to 24/7. Pretty much that's what I was having while I was ill. And in the process, obviously, I healed
Mm,
and I got off all my meds.
amazing. Was it, can you go a little bit more in depth around what were some of the modalities? Was it just EFT? Was it a combination of the things that you learned with Dr.
Well,
Joe Dispenza?
yes, I started meditating daily, but I could not still my mind. And the meditation that I had at the time was about 75 minutes, like an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 20. And I think the tapping was instrumental to calm my body down. And the practitioner I had was trained in matrix reimprinting, which is almost the same as hacking reality. I just got trained from someone else who adds more stuff to it. And that's going back and reimprinting the negative memories or the traumatic memories that we had, because the memories are held between neurons in the brain, right? So eventually, if we remove the emotional charge by tapping, and then we replace that memory with a positive one over a period of time, you're pruning the old negative memory. And now you're creating a new memory for yourself, more empowering. But we can only do that once we've learned the lesson from the previous experience and the charge has gone. Because if I still feel victimized, then there's no way I could reimprint it. And that was very helpful. So those are the modalities that I do. And the practitioners I had were trained in meta consciousness, which is the biological aspect of disease. So let's take, for example, pneumonia. The first thought, the medical model says it's a bacterial infection, right? But in reality, pneumonia is being powerless, feeling attacked. You have no defense system and no one's there to help you. So once you clear that emotional charge, the body starts to heal. And all disease is a lowering of frequency. It's energy that got stored in the cells because the body's trying to release it, but it's keep on replaying it, but it's out of our awareness. I heard of a lovely story about a physician yesterday. I was literally shocked. He spoke about his daughter who had Crohn's disease, and she had resections and everything, and she grew up in a lovely home, and she wasn't healing. It was getting worse and it was getting worse. And then he's a physician and he was into psychology. He was determined to find out. The daughter had been molested at the age of 6, and she hadn't shared it because she felt embarrassed. And it happened not inside the family, outside, and they thought that it had a good match. Well, as soon as she healed that, she has no symptoms of Crohn's disease anymore.
That's incredible. I really love hearing stories like that. Can you just explain to us what emotional freedom tapping is and how can you use it to address these emotional and physical issues?
Okay, so it's a combination, it's an energy modality. It's a combination between cognitive therapy and acupuncture, because we're tapping on the body's meridians, right? So it's not acupuncture, it's acupuncture without the needles. So by acknowledging what it is that we're feeling, and by feeling it and by physically tapping, it regulates the body and it resets the amygdala to be able to release the emotion, and emotions hold limiting beliefs. So it's not the limiting beliefs that hold the emotion. Actually, one emotion holds tons of limiting beliefs. And the reason we have these limiting beliefs is because we weren't able to process them when we were growing up. it either didn't feel safe, or we weren't equipped, or we didn't know or were taught how to physically feel it inside the body. So that's where tapping comes in. So now the person is observing the energy and feeling, and it doesn't last very long. And then the energy either goes up, it goes down, however it's going to go. And now we don't have to replay that. And the body feels safe. When you're tapping, you cannot be chased by a tiger. You know, no one, if a tiger's right there, you're not going to sit and tap. So the physical act of tapping brings the body into the present moment to make it feel that it's safe. And the research indicates that it downregulates six genes of stress, one of them which is cortisol. So cortisol is what activates the alarm system in the body, which is the sympathetic nervous system, to be ready to fight, to hide, or to run. And if that's been turned on most of the time, for most people it has, the body cannot digest. Because if you are being chased by a tiger, all your blood is going to go to the extremities, your pupils are going to dilate, digestion is going to stop, because you have to use all of your resources to run away from the tiger. But when you have constant anger or constant fear replaying in the background, that has been switched on. So you literally are using all your resources against yourself because that alert has not been turned off. So EFT is very successful in that. And it also resets the hippocampus, where the traumatic memories are stored, because we have some techniques that we drain the charge. It's not that it didn't happen. Of course it happened. But the emotional charge to it is being drained. And that's what brings the person to feel more empowered. They realize they survived that experience.
I am so proud to announce that we are launching another YouTube channel called Third Eye Wide Awake, a podcast about ghosts, cults, and deeper knowledge on spiritual stuff through storytelling. And I also find it that most of us that, have 9 to 5s and that have been conditioned in certain ways, we're constantly in fight or flight mode. And so having this tool in our tool bag can be obviously a game changer.
Yes, and the key here is the person can learn how to do it by themselves. So they only need a practitioner to get going or to work traumatic memories. It's not recommended for traumatic memories to work by themselves, but then it's something they can do on a daily basis to self-regulate. And so you're not, like in therapy, you're not hooked to a person for the rest of your life. The other aspect that the research indicates is EFT works significantly faster, because we're only addressing, we mostly focus to release the emotion, where in therapy, we kind of tend to talk a lot. And what fires together, wires together. So if we keep on saying that same story, we're just putting it more and more in us. Our job is to drain it, to remove its power, and the emotion is what's going to drain it. And then, of course, to not talk about it. Once we resolved it, there's no need for us to talk about it.
It's true. Yeah, very true. You had mentioned reality hacking. What exactly is reality hacking, and how does it tie into the work that you do with EFT?
Okay, so hacking reality is a modality almost identical. It was to matrix reimprinting. I just got trained from someone else, so he couldn't use that term, but let's explain what it is. So when the person has a lot of trauma, that memory is not processed in the brain properly. Let's imagine it's a film strip and it's an image, and it's not time-stamped correctly, like in a movie reel, and it has lots of emotions. And it's like your keyboard key is stuck there, and it keeps on putting the letter N, let's say, constantly being triggered. So it's playing in the background. So once we clear the emotional charge, we actually create a new memory. The individual decides what memory they want that is more empowering. The first one is, I'm a victim, this was happened to me and it was unfair. Once the charge is away, you know what? I resilient. I've learned from this and I survived it. Or we put a new memory that they would have liked to happen, and that is what we use to re-imprint inside the body. So first it goes into the brain, so you create the hardware, then it goes to the body, so you can create the software, and the emotion is what activates and they keep on replaying that, and that's your new story of your life.
Wow, that's an incredible kind of mind hack to be able to shift your energy and your frequency and be able to move forward instead of being stuck in that loop of the past.
And we don't want to discard the experience. So I am not religious, but there is two Bible stories that actually address that. So the first person to talk about it, from my experience, I'm sure there was someone sooner, it was Neville Goddard, and he has a lecture, The Pruning Shears of Revision, to rewrite memories and keep on replaying the new memories. But the Bible story is the potter's house. So the potter made a pot that he didn't like it. And instead of destroying it, he used his hands and he remolded it to something beautiful. So what happens when we have a traumatic memory? We want to throw it away. No, we transmute that energy to create what we truly want. The second story is the unjust steward. So he's about to be fired because he didn't collect the money he was supposed to. And then he devises this brilliant plan that the people weren't giving the money because they didn't have it. Okay, they're going to pay half of it, but I'm going to collect from it. So he doesn't get fired. So he remolded his thinking. You know what? I'm going to work with what I have with the people who didn't have the money to pay, and he doesn't get fired.
Incredible. I love seeing these stories from whether it's the Bible or, previous fairy tales or whatnot, and how it mirrors some of these healing modalities and these breadcrumbs kind of come to the surface. Um, you had mentioned jumping timelines before. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with that and what that means exactly?
Okay, so I have both personal experience and with the clients that I work. So a lot of times when it comes to a situation, or even let's address illness, because illness is the hardest one. And let's say your body is deteriorating really bad, and your first thought is, how am I going to fix this? You're actually not fixing this body. When your vibration and your beliefs change, you are actually going to a parallel timeline where a healthier body exists. And that when people grasp that, it's more liberating because they feel they need to fix this. No, you're not fixing. And so the illness that I had still exists at another version, Sophia. I'm just not occupying that body because nothing is ever destroyed. I started letting go of my beliefs, my energetic ties to that experience. And so I am moving to a parallel timeline where that body is healthy. And so past, present, and future are all happening right now. We're just having an experience, seeing it from a different angle. So if you don't like the movie on your cable channel and it's a fear movie, you can change your channel to watch a comedy. But that fear movie is still playing on. You're just not watching it. And from a client's perspective, the people around her behave completely differently when she enters that reality, and they don't have memories of the disagreements that they had because they get an upgrade. So once you start believing that is possible, it's like writing a movie script, and the first one was a horrible movie because you didn't know how to write it because you're actually living someone else's movie based on the bombardment we've gotten from the outer world. So we were not living our own desires. We were told from society what it's going to be. And when the person starts breaking free and says, you know what, I'm not going to engage to that, now they rewrite the script to their new experience, and they can upgrade the characters, because who are the characters? It's yourself pushed out. You're seeing them based on your own filter. You're seeing them limited because it's there for you to heal your own limitations. And again, I'm going to go to religion. Christ consciousness, or Christ, was an Essene. So he was a master Essene. There were some teachings, and one of their main teachings is the 7 mirrors. So the outer world is 7 different mirrors. And they're there to help you get connected to know that you're divine. So there's the mirror of judgment. There's the mirror showing you where you're at. There's the mirror of the dark night of the soul, the mother and father. And that based on the mother and father, that's how you see God, or the feminine and masculine energies. And then what was lost or taken away. So you will encounter often someone who draws you, and you're like, your energy is magnetized to them because they're there to show you what you lost or was taken away from you. And they're usually positive experiences. And then you have the mirror of self-reflection, which is the hardest one, to not compare yourself with others because it's a unique experience for yourself. And that's where people get lost. But let's address the first mirror. If you are seeing anger in the outer world, where it's either you're judging it, that's number one, and probably you grew up where anger scared you, so you don't want it, and you've suppressed your own anger, and that's why it keeps on showing up. So the outer world is telling you, let your feel it and let it go. No emotion is bad. It just needs to be processed.
That's beautiful. I actually have a similar thing where I would suppress my tears a lot because I used to cry a lot as a child. And it came to be that I couldn't access my tears. It would come out in a different way, whether it was anger or just in a different way. But when my grandmother died, I cried once. And then for like 2 years, I could not. Every time like I would feel the tears come up, I would get excited that I'm finally going to cry, and then it would go away. And I actually did EFT paired with EMDR, and it was so incredible. It took a lot of rounds, but it was such an incredible experience. It really shifted me. And now I can easily access those tears again, which was really comforting for me.
I'm glad you did it. It's a wonderful experience what you did, because all emotions are right, energy in motion, and what is energy carries information. So all what the body wants to do is wants you to process, whether it's grief, to let it go. Now in the beginning, when these emotions start coming up, we feel they're going to be endless, or we're not going to survive. So if you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of physical violence or high intensity, you learn subconsciously not to express your anger because you're a little kid, because you'd be next. So safety for you was not showing your anger, not doing anything, and that pattern remained later in life. The thing is, you're grown up now. You can process it, but the feeling is that it's going to be endless. And after a while, once you've been in it, in the beginning, it's like you opened a garbage disposer. So the smell is very strong. It keeps on coming. They keep on coming. The emotions are just coming. Once they dissipate for a while, then you realize the emotion comes for 90 seconds to 2 minutes and it's done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well said. Thank you for that. You also mentioned meta consciousness. Can you talk a little bit about that and what is involved?
Okay, so meta consciousness is started from a physician, and its original name was German New Medicine. He developed prostate cancer. I think it was prostate, some sort of cancer when he lost his son. And he tried all the medical modalities and he wasn't healing. And then he realized he needed to find the biological cause of disease, what emotion it was. So meta consciousness gives you the emotion or the pattern that's associated with a disease or a particular organ. For example, constipation is not being able to let go, right? And if the pain is in the transverse colon, there's a lot of resentment there and a lot of anger, but it's usually tons, like a real deep rooted anger. So it gives you a blueprint to know what emotion is, and then you work with the client to associate the memories that happened in childhood versus seeing it as a symptom, because medicine says, well, it's out there that's causing the disease, it's or whatever it is that happened. It's your reaction to the environment that is causing down regulating your disease. So if you don't know how to respond and release that anger, the body is going to get activated. So each body is mapped out, and it tells you also which part of the brain is affected. And so you use that and you release it. For example, if it's a knee foot issue on the right side is usually masculine, and there's a lot of pain, or you can't bend the knee, your question should be, what is what is holding you back and you feel not able to move forward in life, because the knee is about moving forward. And or where, with which person, because this is the masculine, which male person you can't move forward.
It's
The
so,
yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say something about the eyes because it's crucial. The eyes is either not being able to see, or what you witnessed was so painful. Let's say people losing their vision. So something traumatic happened to them, not able to see it or not able to process, or so afraid to see it. And from Dr. Joe Dispenza's events, we've had several blind people see once they saw the trauma that they had from a young age, usually the age of 2, that it was impossible for them to process.
Oh, it's really interesting. You've touched on all the things that I've had ailments with. And it's just really incredible how so many different modalities can come together and really heal us when we really understand the root cause and heal at the root instead of what Western medicine does, which is just treating the symptoms.
Correct. Let's address cancer, because I worked in cancer for many years. So, knock on wood, uh, someone has cancer, they remove the breast, right? Let's say it's the breast. And cancer, especially if it's the breast, the female feels that she can't nurture, or where she's trying to nurture, she can't, because that's what the breast kind of indicates. If the issue is not resolved, what does medicine say? It's going to metastasize. It didn't metastasize. You removed that organ. So it can't go to that organ. It's going to go to the closest other organ to show that pattern. Once you heal the pattern, then it's going to be gone. And I'd like to quote Dr. Bruce Lipton. He says there's no specific gene for cancer. It's a group of genes that have been downregulated. And he even says it's not hereditary. I'm not saying it. He's saying it. And I'd like to make a reference to a study because I think it's going to empower people. It was in the 40s. I think it was Princeton University. This famous, I think he got a prize. I'm not sure about that. He started studying women with ovarian cancer. So he found that all women that had ovarian cancer had a pattern in the field, on their auric field, and they had it physically in the body. Then he had a group of women who did not have no cancer in the body, ovarian cancer, no pattern in the field. But then there was a third group. They had the pattern in the field, but no cancer in the body. Within 5 years, I believe, all the ones that had it in the field developed cancer. So what is that telling us? Our emotional blocks or whatever it is, if they're not addressed, they come down and they materialize in the body. Because what is the body? The body is a projection of the mind based on our thoughts, emotions, and deeds, and our beliefs. So if we feel and believe we're going to get cancer because our parents had it, unfortunately, we're going to get cancer. Now you're programmed to get it. And if you keep on watching and videos how this person got this cancer and that cancer, it's a matter of time before you get it. And that is why it's very crucial. Not saying that the person who has cancer should not follow traditional medicine, because I'm not here to say that, but they need to see what emotional block is coming. Like that girl with the Crohn's disease, who her father, because she was 16, she had so many surgeries, says, I mean, we raised our daughter so well. I mean, she's had 5, 6 surgeries, and it was constantly flaring up, and she could not process. She was hiding. She could not process as a child. This happened to her, and when her father helped her and developed some techniques to release that emotional pain, she has no symptoms of ever having had Crohn's disease. That was the interesting part, because then she wanted to follow up to a doctor, and there was no even signs that she ever had Crohn's disease. And medicine says this is a chronic condition. It'll never leave your body.
Mm.
But it did. The trauma left.
Incredible. I'm curious to know what the take in is on dementia.
Dementia is usually the person did everything in their life for someone else and they weren't taken care of. Usually that's the imprint. So they were not taken care of. So a perfect example is my dad. He wasn't taken by his mother, and then the father died and he had to take care of the stepmother. And then his life, it was a different age time where he had to provide for everybody. And then it's an overload in the brain because he hadn't processed his emotions, so he got Alzheimer's. So there's various reasons. So that's the emotional component part. Let's address the physiological part, because we do live in a reality that has matter. So we know now processed foods is really going to damage the body. It's going to cause inflammation. We also know, I'm going to make a reference to Dr. Bruce Lipton, taking statins to remove arterial fat, you can't just remove it in one area. It removes it everywhere in the body. The brain is mostly made out of fat. So when we keep on removing these fats and these very low fat diets, we are harming our physical body. There is a study that showed that 3 tablespoons a day of organic coconut oil reduces the symptoms of dementia, and coconut oil is balances the hormones in the body. So avoiding heavy metals, avoiding things that cause inflammation. I don't want to go because I don't want your YouTube video to be banned, but there's certain stuff in certain things that we take from the traditional world that has heavy metals in it, like aluminum, and it's pure toxic to the brain. Or the nanoparticles, they're purely toxic to the brain. So the best thing to do is to detox, eat healthy. We can't go crazy. You can't avoid everything, but
Right.
just avoid processed food and eat good oils for yourself. Don't eat those processed oils that we already know now causes dementia, because the body wasn't meant to use. It's like having a car and you're supposed to do diesel and you keep on putting another gas in it. It's a matter of time before that car breaks down. Well, this is your spiritual vehicle.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That was really enlightening. I asked because my grandmother passed from dementia, and that was exactly right. She took care of everyone, and the trigger for her dementia was when my grandfather passed. And it took her 22 years to finally pass away from it. But for 22 years, she suffered from dementia. And I did not know about the fats in your brain. I'm gonna have to look a little bit more into that.
The brain is made purely from cholesterol. And the reason we have a high rise is a combination of two, a high rise of these dementias, is because we are not getting healthy cholesterol back in the brain, but also the society is so highly stressed. So my father, it was a cry for help. Someone, you need to take care of me. So what happens with Alzheimer's or dementia? They can't do anything for themselves. So someone else has to take care of them because they were taking care of everyone. The system got so overloaded, but cholesterol, healthy cholesterol is essential. And they have changed the standards for how much cholesterol you should have. They used to have them very low, but you have to go digging for it. You're not going to find it easy. But let's address what is this arteriosclerosis. So when there's inflammation inside of the body and it's in the veins, the blood has to keep a certain pH. If that pH in the blood, see, the organ pH can change, but the blood pH cannot change. It's standard. Then it starts taking from the bones. Now we have, what do you call it? When we're missing calcium from the bones, the name is going to come to me. My brain stopped for a second.
Osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis, right. The reason the blood starts taking from the bones is because it needs to keep its pH. So it's looking inside the body where to raise its pH. What brings down the pH? Toxic thoughts are very acidic and negative emotions. So now you have arteriosclerosis, which means the acidity from your thoughts are eroding the inside of your veins. What is the body going to do to survive? It's going to put something over it so it doesn't go through the vein. What happened to you when you were a kid? You fell off your bike. The body knew to put some pus, create a scab. Well, that's where atherosclerosis is. It's the body's response to protect the veins. And what do we go and do? We remove further cholesterol from the body that's going to cause more damage. Instead of clearing the calcification, either with an energy modality or whatever is causing the problem. I'm going to give you a last example because I think this is going to make sense. So the body's electric. When a person dies, the first thing to do to resuscitate him, we get 2 paddles, right? So we give them an electrical charge. And sure enough, you had a Walkman at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Do you remember the one? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
So the Walkmans had batteries in there. You left the Walkman for maybe a year or 6 months. And all of a sudden you went to turn it on and it's not playing. You opened up to see the battery. The battery had leaked. The fluid had come out. The same thing with the toxic thoughts inside the body.
Mhm.
They acidified. And so now the body is not working well. The cells are not getting the correct voltage. And there's a certain voltage for us to be healthy. First of all, we're meant to be alkaline. And I believe, is it 0.7 to 1 that the electrical charge supposed to be between cells. If that drops, now you're starting to have disease. And then again, what is that? Low frequency emotions are acidic in the body. High frequency emotion are expanding and help the body heal.
Incredible. Oh my goodness. I feel like I can ask so many other questions. I'm going to ask you one more question. In your experience, what are the most common obstacles people face when trying to break these negative thought patterns? And how do you help them overcome these?
So when it comes to health or in general, their reality is that the reality cannot change and the brain cannot change. So we know that the brain is neuroplastic. It's constant repetition and helping them feel safe to feel the emotion. And I do teach Dr. Joe Dispenza's course, Change Your Mind, Create Your Results, so they can understand how the thoughts are impacting the body. And then, of course, I use the other modalities to keep on re-imprinting so they can change. And for some people, it takes a long time, but some people it doesn't take a long time. It's how much they feel safe to feel the emotions, because no one came to earth wanting to be miserable, right? But these emotions, when they first came, it was the body's attempt, or I should say the mind's attempt, to keep you safe. And so we block these memories. And now we have to realize, or I guide the person to realize they have it and it is safe, and feeling that emotion is not going to be the end of your life, and keep on reinforcing that they can change the reality, because everybody can change their reality. Eventually, it's going to outpicture, the new reality is going to be outpictured in a positive way. And sometimes it takes long time, or sometimes takes shorter. And I am there to keep on reminding them by tracking when they have good progress. So I don't have my clients just do EFT. I have them keep a journal of their positive experiences. So whenever they manifested something positive, so one sentence, what did they do and how it was manifested? I ask them to keep a gratitude journal. And then the third separate journal, what are the repeating negative thought patterns, and take it further. So then what's going to happen? If I don't pass this exam, I won't go to medical school. And then what? And then what? And then you find 5 themes. I'm either going to die alone, miserable. I'm going to die. I'm going to reincarnate. I'm just going to be a failure. It's some sort of a limiting belief, and you trace those 5 and you work on them to clear them.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. For listeners that are curious to know more and work with you, how can they find you?
They can come to my website, tapintourbestself.com. I offer a complimentary session to get some information. How can I help them if we're a good match? I have tons of resources on my website. They can join my newsletter. I write blogs about reality, and so they can get information there. And then I have various packages. And I also teach Dr. Joe's Dispenza's course if they want to go deeper, or if they can't go to one of his week-long retreats. So they can master the information and they can apply it in their own life. And it's an interactive program. So they do a lot of exercises, not a lecture. So there's a lot of hands-on. So they identify what the limitations are in their life.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just saw he's having one in Texas on August 12th, the week of August 12th, which is really incredible. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today. I really learned a lot. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, please comment down below, like, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.